There's a hint of irony in Tomb Raider Chronicles. Just as Laura's closest friends gather to remember her adventures, so too do I remember the better times I've had with the franchise. Lara Croft is dead, that was for sure. Though she would come out of the rubble for one more adventure with core design, for all intents and purposes Chronicles was a whimper of a cash-in to try to elongate the series' popularity. The game takes place through a series of flashbacks. In a private service, friends recount their experiences with a world-famous archaeologist. It takes place immediately after the last revelation, which ended on a cliffhanger, or should I say tomb hanger, as Laura became trapped behind a wall of rubble during the Great Pyramid's collapse. Her fate was unknown. As we witness the friends reminiscing, we are given glimpses of Laura's old mentor, digging to try to find her in the debris. It was interesting to have a continuous narrative between games. The first 3 games had nothing to do with one another besides character and setting. They played out like the James Bond movies, assumingly connected, but not outright shown to be. The last revelation gave us more story than the first 3 games combined, which was a real treat. Chronicles keeps with that theme and does pack a good amount of dialogue and cutscenes. However, they are all randomly laid out and don't really show off any new side of the character or universe. Chronicles has a decent, but rather trivial story. If you've only played 1 or 2 of the original 3 Tomb Raider games, Chronicles may not seem so bad. The same tried and true level design mechanics are present. However, if you've been following the series, then you'll be shocked to know this is the same engine they've been using since the first game. Sure, there have been some minor graphical enhancements, especially on the PC and Dreamcast versions. However, that doesn't change the fact we're getting recycled goods. While the minor enhancements kept the series strong for the first 2 sequels, it started to show its age in the last revelation. Luckily, due to some new abilities and a great new take on level and puzzle design, things stayed fresh and new. In Chronicles, it's almost as though they took a step back. Gone are the massive tombs, interconnecting areas, and cryptic writing. Back are the door switch puzzles. Also, there are no vehicles in Chronicles. Vehicles have been a series staple since Tomb Raider 2. While all of the other mechanics added in the last revelation are included, it's a shame to see such predictable level design and the omission of any toys for Laura to drive. It ends up feeling more like a collection of cut-off levels from the first 3 games than a full experience to stand on its own. Tightrope walking is a new addition. It works quite well, but frankly ends up feeling tacked on and unnecessary. The main push of Chronicles was the new stealth mechanic. The engine may have been recycled for 5 games, but that doesn't change the fact that it worked very well for a lot of things. Unfortunately, stealth was not one of them. There are a few fun spying sequences, but overall it feels far too situational and less organic. You can't really choose to be stealthy. You just have to be stealthy to pass certain challenges.
For the military. And that, sure as mom's apple pie, ain't no civilian protection.
Can't argue with that. And the guns?
Not only do these situations feel out of place, but at times they are pushed so hard they actually harm the experience. The first set of levels, which take place in Rome, are probably the strongest of the game. The setting, level layout, and story are brilliant and feel just like classic Tomb Raider games. The second sequence, which takes place in Russia, introduces us to the stealth mechanics, and they work okay here. In the second half of the game we get to play as teenage Lara. Lara has no guns, and thus this section focuses more on supernatural enemies. You'll be doing a lot of exploring and puzzle solving to make up for it. This sounds far better than it really is. While teenage Lara was a blast to play as in the training level for the last revelation, here it just feels redundant. The level design is confusing and boring. Lastly, Lara engages in some break and enter, and this section really pushes the stealth. It switches between being fun and downright awkward. By the time you get to the last level, you'll practically be begging for the game to end. Aside from the strange stealth bits, Chronicles has another major problem. Despite being the exact same code as the previous games, the ugly corner bug shows up here way more than it used to. Save often. You never know when you'll be shot up to the top of a building then dropped to your death for no reason.
head by a horse, so the brain doesn't work correctly. How'd you know about that?
Another disappointing cut is the Croft Manor. Being MIA, this is sort of understandable. Still, as an unlockable goodie at the end, it would have been nice. The manor was always a great way to spend time.
Unlucky for some.
Unlucky for them. Any welcome party?
That's your job, girl.
The game's one saving grace was the inclusion of the level editor. The complete set of tools used to build every Tomb Raider game before it was included for the community to enjoy. This highlights just how versatile and ingenious the games are, and fans are still making levels to this day. As a matter of fact, they've tweaked and upgraded the editor itself. You can get this editor for free nowadays, but back at launch, this gave the PC version an edge over the console ports.
Easy go.
Right now we are looking at the Dreamcast port of the game. It runs quite well, and is nearly identical to its PC counterpart when using a VGA adapter. Though, as you can see, it doesn't look like a 128-bit title. The minor graphical touches like water dripping off Laura when emerging from a pool don't even look as good as they did in Laura's last outing. Whereas Laura used to be at the pinnacle of graphics, she was now at the bottom. Tomb Raider Chronicles is a glorified expansion pack masquerading as a full game. The first half of the game is not bad. It fits into the original trilogy standards rather well. It just doesn't do anything notable to push forward. With the latter half of the game, they got more ambitious but were ultimately less successful. There are fans who love this entry. Though it didn't quite rebuild the engine into something new and amazing like the last Revelation did, it does serve as a fun distraction for fans. It's certainly not the high point of Core's franchise, nor is it a good place to start for newcomers. The level editor is well worth the price on PC. For the other ports, only hardcore fans need to play.